Hey everyone, North Star Knife Reviews. Have a knife that was sent to me by a company to take a look at, and I tell you, I did think long and hard about this, and I wasn't sure. So wasn't sure if I should take a knife from a company and take a look at it. I don't know how people feel about it, but then I decided, well, it's probably not something that I would otherwise take a look at, so let's do that. Just want everybody to know that this was sent to me by the company for free. So if that colors your view of what I'm saying, that's fine. Anyway, this is from a company called Core, and quite honestly, I just got this yesterday, and I took it out yesterday afternoon for a couple of hours, just did a couple of little things. And I was going to use it for, a couple of weeks and then do a review of it. But I had some time and I took it out to the backyard and did some stuff today. And I think I have enough sense of it to tell you my thoughts. And again, this was sent to me free. So I'm going to give you my honest review. But just keep that in mind, okay? So we'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, I will say that it was a pretty interesting design. This is the Core standard issue knife. Core is a company that makes belts. They also make gun belts. And I think they started in about 2013, I believe their website said. I was not familiar with them prior to this. This is looks like the only knife they're selling on their website. I don't know if they've produced others in the past. But the Core standard issue now, I gotta say, the packaging is really nice. Nice box, and there is something on the box, however, that I would have left off personally. Just me, maybe, but this comes with a built-in pull-through sharpener. Now, I'm not a fan of pull-through sharpeners. In an emergency, sure, if it's your only option, but most of them take off way too much metal and they can leave a ragged edge. Somebody who buys this knife is probably not going to use a pull-through sharpener, okay? And I will tell you, I should say, on the Core website, this knife is $159, okay? So somebody who's spending $159 for a knife, I don't think is going to use a pull-through sharpener. You really want a sharpener to go along with this, great. What I would do, get a little round diamond rod, like a fine diamond rod, put it in the box, just something maybe about this long, and just a thin one, and let people use that to touch up the knife. That would be better than the pull-through, okay? Probably wouldn't cost any more. But other than that, it is nice packaging. All right, we open it up and we get a cleaning brush. Fine. That's cool, I guess. I've never gotten a cleaning brush with a knife, but yeah, I suppose, if you're going to take it and clean it out, this could get down. It can be difficult, and I think this might be useful. But what I would suggest might be more useful, a little Torx wrench that would take off the scales if you wanted to. Probably wouldn't cost any, probably cost less, and would probably be more useful for most people. That said, this is a nice little touch, and yeah, it could be useful in some situations. Okay, so the box is this plastic, and then this really thick foam. Like I say, really nice packaging. I do think that is great. The knife itself. Okay, well, here, take a look at it. Let me see. I've got my computer open here. Hold on. Let me check the specs on this thing. What are you saying? Closed length 5 inches, total open length 9 1/4. It's got this has 2 blades, which is pretty unique for a modern. The large blade is 3.5 inches. The small blade is 1.4, and you got a blade thickness of 1.25. Now the thickness on the knife itself is over 1/2 inch. Okay, this thing is pretty thick, especially with the clip on there. Let's see. I must have put there's an old timer. That's what I was going to look at. This old timer 80T is thinner than this. So if you have an old timer, you can feel about how thick this would be. A little bit thicker actually, but also thicker this way. So that'll give you kind of an idea of what you have in your hand. This thing weighs about 6 ounces. Let's see, a 5.3. Actually feels heavier than that, quite honestly. Clip works well, and I didn't get any hot spot from it. That is, of course, something that might vary depending on your hand size, the length of your fingers, how you hold it, all of that. But I had no problem with it. The one thing that I did notice right away is that the edges on this are not chamfered. Now, there are some cutouts here, but the edge itself is still really squared off. I mean, I've got this Duratec that I think was $12, and this has chamfered edges. Much more comfortable than this. You know, for the money they're asking, I would, spend the extra 2 cents per knife and chamfer those. Be a much more comfortable knife. Now, this does have axis locks for both blades. As I said, this is a 2-bladed knife, which I actually think is kind of interesting, and not something you get in a modern a lot. This is a tactical knife. It is, I believe, meant for first responders, law enforcement, anybody who wants a tactical carry. I am not, tactical knives are not my main interest, okay? So there may be things about this that you like that I don't, or that you don't like that I do, because you are more into tactical knives. I carry for EDC primarily. And so this is not a knife I would normally carry most of the time. But if this is something you would carry, to me, having that second blade might be kind of nice. So let's take a look at that blade first. And it has a little front flipper on here, and I find it easiest to just flick it out with my finger. This this blade is pretty light and so close to the pivot that you can flick it out and in, but it takes a lot of effort because you have to move. There's not much rotational weight at the end here, so you don't have a lot to help fling it out. But you do have this. You can open it with your thumb, with your forefinger. I can light switch it and have it flip out, but it's not the easiest. It is riding, and both of these are riding on, here, let's take a look. Let me open this blade, and I don't know if you can see in there very well, brass. Because it has 2 blades, it's got a smaller washer on one side and larger one on the other. Actually, I don't know if this large one especially, if that is an actual washer or if it's a bushing. If you're not familiar with bushings, they're like a tube that has a rod inside that acts as a bearing. And that might be what that is. I don't see anything on the site to tell me, and there was no information sheet with the knife. So it's whatever it is, it's certainly not ball bearings, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. This might keep the dirt out a little better. Let's go back to this blade. Yesterday I tried a little bit and I thought, oh, this is really cool. You can use it to open packages, break down boxes. I tested it out on just a tree branch in the park or whatever, and I was like, oh yeah, this could be pretty cool. So today I went out first let me tell you what this is called. They call this a seatbelt cutter. Now they do talk about other things like opening packages, but that is what they're advertising it as a seatbelt cutter. I am not sure, maybe if you're a first responder, you let me know, but you've got a sharp point on here. I'm not sure if that's the best option to have to try to go into a seatbelt. I will say that it is nice to pull like this. And I did open a couple packages and it works really well for that. When I went to cut the cardboard, it sucked. I tried to push through it. It just kept catching. It did not come that sharp. So I tried to push through it. Didn't work. Okay, well, let me try something else. I went in the garage and I had some like webbing, strapping from, I forget if it was an old car seat or baby stroller, whatever. So I can't guarantee it's exactly like car seat or a car seat belt. But I thought it would be at least an approximation. And again, it was just really hard to get through. It wasn't sharp enough. If you're going to advertise something as a seatbelt cutter, make sure it's sharp enough to cut seatbelt when you send it out. Just a hint. So since it didn't do that, I went back to the cardboard. And yes, I had tried to push through cardboard once, but hopefully trying to push through cardboard once wouldn't be enough to dull it so that it was no longer usable as a seatbelt cutter. So I'm going to assume it wasn't sharp enough anyway. But if that one pass did it, then that's on me, I guess. So then I went back to try to cut some more cardboard, and I could score it, no problem, but trying to cut through just did not work well. So I gave up on that. So this great concept, I think, having an extra blade that you could use for utility tasks might be a decent thing if if you're a first responder or whatever and you have that tactical blade that you want to keep sharp. But then this has to work, okay? And it didn't. Now, yeah, you can sharpen it. Maybe that's why they put the pull-through sharpener. But yeah, that probably is not going to make it any sharper than it was or do much of a better job. So on to the main blade I went. Okay. Now I will say this was pretty stiff when I got it, but it has gotten much better. Oops, there it didn't go. Here is the main blade, and it is a very tactical looking blade. It's sort of a combination of a harpoon blade and an American Tonto or a Western Tonto. You've got the little harpoony thing up here, the little knob, whatever you want to call it. And then down the bottom, you've got that sharp Tonto shape that is Americanized. And as you can see, this is a partially serrated knife. I don't see a non-serrated version, so I think this is the only way they're offering it. Now, again, if you're a tactical person, maybe that's really beneficial to you. I do see partially serrated knives in the tactical realm more than I see them in others, or at least others that I use. The EDC, I maybe have one that might have partial serrations. Bushcraft, you certainly don't have serrations. So I don't know. If you are somebody who needs a tactical knife, maybe this is something you want. And it does give you more options for cutting. Serrations are great if you do need to cut twine or rope or anything that's fibrous. Okay, get that. And so I can see where having that would be a benefit. But I would like to see them also offer a non-serrated option, because I think for most people that's going to be more useful. And maybe even with this blade shape or with a little bit different blade shape. And I know, again, they are aiming at the tactical first responder kind of market. That's fine. But even there, I don't know. You tell me. Would having a non-serrated option be helpful? Because it seems to me that it would just have more appeal. Other things. This did work reasonably well. I did cut a little bit of twine with it, and that was fine. I actually cut the box down a little bit with this knife, this blade, after this one didn't work well. So this actually did work to cut boxes. But the steel on this. This is VG10, Sanmai VG10. Sanmai is a process from Japan where you take a core and then wrap another kind of steel around it, so you have a 3-layer system. So you've got VG10. I don't know what the outside is. I'm going to guess it's probably something like 420HC or something of that equivalent would be my guess. The purpose is to have a little bit softer steel on the outside for more toughness, while you have the harder blade inside. Now, I have no problem with VG10 steel whatsoever. I think VG10 steel is great. It's used on high-end knives. It is sort of what we would probably think of as a mid-grade steel. I am not a steel snob. There are no good or bad steels. There are just good or bad steels for your purpose. So, I have knives in 5CR, in 3CR, and for some things like a neck knife, I think that 3CR is fine because I'm not planning on using it a lot. It's just there as an emergency backup. And so I'm not concerned about it holding an edge all that long, because if I use it, it's going to be just for a short period, and then I can sharpen it again if I need to, okay? And rarely, if ever, would a neck knife be my only knife. So it's not like that would be the one that I would rely on if I had to cut something up or whatever. But anyway, I don't know. Lost my train of thought there, I think. But the steel on this is VG10, which again is a perfectly fine steel and maybe a great steel for tactical knives. I don't know that it's a great steel for a tactical knife that costs $159. Okay. And I'm not saying that because VG10 is bad or worse than other steels. I'm doing it because you can get other knives out there with more premium steels. And it just feels like if you're paying a premium price, you should get a premium steel for it. Again, that's not to say that VG10 is bad. It may even be the best steel for this knife. I don't know. I'm just saying that the price seems kind of high to me. Okay. So those are pretty much my thoughts. This has been the longest review I've ever done, and I felt like I had to because this was sent to me. So final thoughts. I think it's a great concept. I think it definitely has some potential. If you keep the VG10 steel, I would expect a finalized version or a better version of this to be half the price it is. Fix some of the other issues and put, S90V or, 20CV or whatever in it that would be sort of similar to other knives in the price range. And you might have a real winner here. It seems like it was designed not necessarily by somebody who would be using it. Okay. And I'm not trying to be a jerk about that. My thought is just that it seems like it's as much for show as for use. And, especially what makes me think this blade, which could be such a useful thing, just not. A seatbelt cutter's got to cut a seatbelt. So anyway, and hey, maybe I just got a one-off that wasn't sharp enough. But quite honestly, if you're gonna send one out, pull it out of the box. Take a look at it. Make sure it's sufficiently sharp to do what you want it to do. Okay. Anyway, potential, needs some work. With these materials, needs to be a lower price. My 2 cents, being as honest as I can about it. So there you go. You guys have a good one. I will catch you next time.